Morning, Tim. Thanks, mate. And thanks, listeners. Thanks for taking the time. Can you flick through? Thank you. So TerraCom's been around since we listed in June 2010. And as Tim said, we've got a market capitalisation of just over 113 million. We've been through a rather hastened process in the last 12 months of repositioning the company to geographically diversify it. We have a very, very solid shareholder base. Some 56% of our shareholders are owning the register, and the share register is tight. We've got a hedge fund out of Hong Kong, OCP Asia, who've been with us for nearly 6 years now. Bonnie Thon in Australia, racing and horse and media legend John Singleton. The Noble Group, Ahmed, who are an African fund. And then we've got directors and management who just acquired a stake on market of about 9.4% of the company. Tim, next, please. So current operations and projects in Australia and South Africa, as we sit here today. Obviously, we have our producing mine in Blair Athol in Queensland, and we have our two main exploration target focuses, which are both thermal coal. However, Springsure is PCI, high value thermal. And then we have our operating mines in South Africa, as well as our growth expansion opportunities. Next, please. So our strategic outlook, and this is the important one for where we're going and what we're up to. Obviously, as I said, we've geographically diversified into South Africa and onto the African continent in general. We have seen, a growing political risk being a coal miner in Australia. So we have diversified outside of Australia, and we don't have any impact currently on our business from what is happening with coal sales into China. We are now basically diversifying and growing the company into being a bulk commodity miner with outside of our expansion into South Africa, which is extremely exciting and gives us another 9 to 10 million tonne of production. We're also moving into Guinea, and Guinea will be the first play for the company outside of coal, and we're pretty excited about that. So we've got a target of 14 million tonne of thermal coal with our Elof expansion in South Africa, and that's current and very soon to be realised. And then we move into the bauxite in Guinea. Our eventual sales profile that we're looking for to move to is 4 million tonne of export thermal coal, 8 million tonne of domestic thermal coal, and 8 million tonne of bauxite. And that's already achievable with the exception of the construction of the bauxite mine, which we're packing our bags and we're off to Guinea next week, and the team hits the ground in the next couple of days. So that's exciting for us, the diversification into another bulk commodity, and we look forward to being the start of many in the African and on the African continent. EBITDA cash margin as we sit here today is about 88 million, all from coal, and with our Elof expansion in South Africa, we expect our EBITDA to hit around 120 million cash, and then we expect about 120 million of cash margin over the next 24 months from our bauxite. Next, please, Tim. So just a global footprint map, and as I said before, we are a producer, and we're over 10 million tonne. We're not an explorer anymore. Been through that phase and moved on. I think our primary focus now is construction of projects that are near term to market and close to logistics paths, so that we don't have any stranded resources and we're not pouring shareholders' money into something that will take 3 or 4 years to see the eventual cash being generated. So now the board's focus is all about shareholder return and cash flow. Next, please. Again, our as I said, commodity diversification. We looked long and hard at Guinea, and Guinea has gone from 0 to 44 million tonne of export bauxite in the last 4.5 to 5 years, and the in-ground reserves in Guinea at the moment represent 27% of the bauxite market globally. Next, please. So total mineral reserves, 73 million metric tonnes in that, measured 26, indicated 11, inferred 36. It's a pretty simple concept. The mine is only 23 to 26 kilometres from the barge loadout point, which we'll be constructing, and then we'll be barging the bauxite down the river to a mothership, a mother vessel. Our development program to first bauxite is 13 months from boots on the ground in the next few weeks, and so far everything's on track and looking good. Easy mining solution, continuous surface miners, small haul road, all of which has been approved, and then river barges, as I said, to a transshipment platform 25 kilometres from the Seagate. Typical bauxite mining operation in Guinea, no smarts or technical expertise outside of what already exists needed. Straight bulk mining opportunity onto the water and to the market. Next, please. Another thing that's highly topical in the market at the moment is we're finalising and we've chosen to go 8 or 9 months early to the market to finalise our refinance of our bonds. We've been working on restructuring, obviously, the company's balance sheet, and have done it progressively over the last 2 to 3 years. We put the balance sheet restructure on hold in August last year, basically when we as a board thought the market was turning, and made the acquisition of Universal. So that's done now, that's bedded down. The management team in South Africa are first class, doing a great job, and it'll end up being one of our best acquisitions to date, outside of the $1 obviously we paid for Blair Athol. So indicative terms is we'll be writing Australian 220, dollar per note, fully transferred. We listed on the ASX. You can read the coupons, 3 years maturity. And what we are doing in line with this is also doing an unsecured listed bond for about $50 million for the retail space, not institutional. And that the uptake and the interest in that, I must say, in the current climate is quite exciting. Next, please, mate. So that's just basically outlining the ranking, security, etc. So really, what TerraCom has done is, we basically bought Blair Athol in the last couple of years for $1. We've sold our Mongolian assets. We have bought a 19.9% stake of Universal last year in August. We started a hostile takeover in March, which we completed in June of this year. And now we're moving and to start construction of our bauxite. So, COVID, yes, everyone's talked about how it's delaying companies and doing this. At the moment, COVID's an inconvenience, which we have to learn to live with. But through COVID, we've, as a board, we've divested of Mongolia. As I said, we've bought Universal, adding 9 million tonne of production to our balance sheet. We have done our DD and moving with the acquisition of our bauxite project in Guinea. And the future's looking pretty exciting. There's a lot more consolidation coming online in our space, and we want to be a leader, not a follower. So that's it really, Tim, in a nutshell, mate.
Thanks, Craig. A couple of questions here. Can you talk a little bit more about the Chinese coal imports and whether that had an impact on TerraCom?
Yeah, look, mate, no. I think, mate, in BA's history, we sold only one load of coal to China. All of our coal, mate, goes to Japanese Korea and the sponge steel market in India. So China, from an Australian perspective, is not a client for Blair Athol.
Right, and your biggest client in South Africa is Eskom. There's some debt issues with them. How's that been affecting the universal sales, if you like, if any?
Oh, look, through the COVID process, mate, we've seen some softening of 10 to 15% from an order book point of view, but coal's still flowing. We're still making margins, and at the end of the day, mate, South Africa, it's an emerging economy and everything has hiccups. But mate, Eskom are paying their bills and they're taking our coal. I mean, our eventual view and why we bought South Africa was to expand as much and as quickly as we could and take our oversupply and our overcapacity outside of our Eskom contracts and get that into the export market, mate, which we're now in serious discussions on port and rail logistics to enable us to achieve that. And obviously, that will significantly increase our margins per tonne.
And where's the opportunity in bauxite? I understand you're kind of diversifying away from coal. Where's the opportunity in bauxite? And one of the questions is kind of what could derail that acquisition?
Oh, look, there's nothing that could derail that acquisition, mate. We've gone binding, and we picked up some security interests in that acquisition on the way through our DD process, and we should have that finalised and done by the end of this month. Cash is in the bank to pay. There's no issues from a actual corporate point of view. From a sales profile point of view, mate, we've already got 3 major clients lined up to take every tonne of the project. And as you're probably aware, bauxite now is on the critical list for the EU, mate. So they can't get enough of it as we sit here. So.
And maybe could you just talk through the cost savings through the debt refinancing and the restructure?
Yeah.
The innovation around that restructure?
Yeah, sure, mate. Look, it is pretty exciting. I mean, if I told you the names that were currently in our data room from a debt point of view, you'd be highly surprised. But I'm not going to put it on webinar and have every green group in the world contacting them. So we probably, mate, we're looking at about 11.5 to 12 million a year saving on the new structure. And everyone has said, look, why are you going for an unsecured retail bond? I think the market at the moment, mate, is suffering. I mean, COVID's hurt everyone's superannuation funds, and mate, to get a yield of 10.5% paid quarterly is a good return in the current market.
And talking of yield, I mean, the universal shareholders obviously are now part of TerraCom. They enjoyed a dividend yield in the past. But what's the policy on dividends moving forward for TerraCom?
Mate, speaking from a self-interest point of view, most of the board is completely aligned with shareholders. The only thing that is delaying the announcement of amounts of dividends and etc. Is the refi, and as soon as we have that locked away, which our intention is to have it completed in November, we'll announce to the market. But we have every intention, mate, and developing what we're doing on a cash flow basis and an operational basis, mate, is all about returning funds to shareholders, not about anything else. And the board are considering all sorts of alternatives at the moment, including buybacks.